Okay, this lesson is about inverse trig, which is when you do not know the angle for a right triangle. You're looking for an angle. So the format we did with regular trig looks a little bit like this. First, you write down your acute angle, then your trig ratio, which is going to be either sine, cosine, or tangent. Then you write down a side of the triangle and then another side of the triangle, depending on which trig ratio you pick and how those are set up. So the difference with inverse trig is that once you solve it, you do this magical thing where you put this on this side of the equal sign. The acute angle goes over here. Let me scoot these over. Oh no. I should seriously group those together. And then this goes over here, and voila, it's inverse trig. However, this is in parentheses. Those are my awesome parentheses. And you have this little -1, that means inverse, of your trig ratio. So it could be sine of -1, cosine of -1, tangent. Tangent of -1. And the way that you do that in your calculator is you just hit the second button. Let me clear out of this. So if I were to hit second sine, it would bring up that sine to the -1. So that would be the inverse of sine. And that's the only difference. It's actually easier because you don't have to decide to multiply or divide to solve it. Okay, so if on this problem, we were looking for what this angle was right here, angle J. So this is the opposite side, this is the adjacent side, and this is the hypotenuse. For most people, that is the hardest part of a trig problem, is figuring those out. So if you can figure that out, you are doing better than a lot of folks. And just to help you, since angle J is made up of these two sides, one will always be the hypotenuse, and you know that because it's the one across from the right angle. The other side that makes up the angle you're talking about would be the adjacent. The one that's not touching it at all is the opposite. So we could really do any of our sine, cosine, or tangent, our trig ratios. So I'm going to do sine since it's my favorite. Sine is opposite over adjacent. So I'm going to put an X for angle J since we don't know it. Then we have opposite, which is 4 over, I'm sorry, it's opposite over hypotenuse. I think I said adjacent earlier. Oh, I'm just not circling the right stuff. Let me circle everything and make a donut. So opposite is 4, hypotenuse is 5. So that's how you would start to solve it if it was a regular trig problem. But when you notice that your X is with your trig ratio, you should know that it's inverse. So you do the inverse of sine is 4 over 5, and that equals X. So in your calculator, you would type second sine 4 over 5. Let me scooch this over so you can see a little bit more of it. There's the big screen. It's 53.13. And for some reason, I guess because they're degrees, a lot of times when we do this, this says nearest tenth, but a lot of times it will do nearest degree. So like you would put 53 degrees. Since it's nearest tenth, I will put 53.1. So let's see, the measure of angle J equals 53.1 degrees. Now, if we needed to know L, you could set up a whole nother problem and do all that. But if this is 53.1, this is 90, they have to add to 180. So really, you could just say 90 minus the answer you just got. I know you can only see part of the screen. I'm sorry. I'll try to fix it in a second. So 36.9 would be the other one. You can't round till the end. That's why I did answer instead of just doing 53.1. But on these, it really won't matter. Okay. So I think this one is on your notes. The last one was not. So we are looking for the measure of angle A. So A is made up of these two sides. One is the hypotenuse. It's the one across from the right angle. The other is the adjacent. Then the one not highlighted is the opposite. So we have opposite and hypotenuse. Now on the last one, you could have done any of them because you had all three sides given to you. On this one, you only have the opposite and hypotenuse. So you have to think which trig ratio is opposite and hypotenuse, and that is sine. If you remember the SOHCAHTOA, it would help you greatly. Excuse me. Okay, so we're doing sine of, we'll call that x, equals 36 over 85 because it's opposite over hypotenuse, which means that you're going to do the inverse of sine is 36 over 85, and that equals x. And you type it in just like that. If I can pull up my calculator. Second sine 36 over 85. Making sure that's right. And that is 25.1. Well, excuse me, sorry. Let me write the measure of angle A since that's what they asked for. And when I say they, I mean me because I did make this. 25.1 is what I wanted, and that is degrees. I mean, it's always best to label your units, but I don't take off for that. Okay, let's see. We got two more. So if we had, oh, that's not right. We're looking for angle A. It's made up of these two sides. I know I'm doing that fast, but one over here is hypotenuse. This one's adjacent, so this one must be opposite. Opposite and adjacent is SOHCAHTOA, that's tangent. Oh, sorry, I know that blue is hard to see. Let me change it to white. Tangent of x is 9 over 13. So you do second tangent to get the inverse, 9 over 13. And feel free to pause this if you need to slow it down. Second tangent, 9 over 13. 35. No, wait, it's not near its whole number. 34.7. Did I do that right? Second tangent, 9 over 13. 34.7. I just don't remember that answer. Let's hope it's right. And if not, you can come tell me and make fun of me. I love when I'm wrong and people get to make fun of me. It's one of my favorites. That's just a joke. Okay, so I'm going to write down my acute angle. It is made up of this side and this side. So our hypotenuse, that's white. There we go, blue. Our hypotenuse is the 17. This side must be adjacent because it makes up the angle. This side doesn't touch the angle, so it is opposite. So we have opposite and hypotenuse. So that's sine. Didn't get to do any cosines today. So sad for poor cosine. Opposite over hypotenuse. You would type in second sine in your calculator. Now, if you're not getting the same answers as I am in your calculator, it could be because you're not in degree mode, which I talked about in the previous trig lesson, but let me just remind you that one more time because some of you might be just so confused. You hit the mode button and degree should be highlighted. If radian is highlighted, which is the default, it will do that automatically. You just scroll down, scroll over to degree and hit enter and turn that on. And then you can quit. So we're doing second sine 9 over 17. Oh, didn't mean to hit enter twice. So that to the nearest tenth. This is such a good problem. Nearest tenth is this one. So this 6 makes this go up to a 10. Of course, you've got to carry that over. However, because this is not exactly 32, you can't just write 32. You did round it right here. And if you were rounding later on, like to the 7, you would write all those digits. So even though it's just a 0, you still write it. The answer there is 32.0 degrees for x. And that's all there is to it.